Hi guys, this is Mom Yan. It's been a while since gumawa tayo ng last video here on YouTube. So guys, I hope you can accept my apologies. I've been so busy the past months. That's why nawalan talaga ako ng oras with making contents like this. But I'm not promising, but I am hoping that I would be able to inculcate more of these on my schedule. So God willing guys, no? Sana ay mabigyan pa ako ng oras for this one. But I will try my best, yes. I will try my best for you. Alright, so let's start. Ang pag-uusapan natin ngayon, guys, is oncology nursing. So for this one, we will focus on the basics, the fundamentals that you need to know for cancer. You just have to listen to me, just like what you always do when you watch my videos. So let's start, guys. Number 1. The nurse is reviewing the laboratory results of Jean diagnosed with multiple myeloma. Which finding would the nurse expect to note in this disorder? Letter A, increased calcium level. Letter B, increased white blood cells. Letter C, decreased blood urea nitrogen level. Or letter D, decreased number of plasma cells in the bone marrow. And the only correct answer, guys, is letter A, increased in the calcium level. So, to understand why that happens, tignan muna natin kung anong kasing cancer meron si Jean. Sabi, meron siyang multiple myeloma. So, just like what I always teach my students, guys, for you to understand med-surg, you have to understand the language that it speaks. So, let's see what the word multiple myeloma suggests. So, from the first word, guys, multiple, ibig sabihin many, marami. And from the word myelo, pag sinabi mong myelo, guys, ibig sabihin the affected part is the marrow. Myelo means the marrow. So that means the what? The bone marrow. Okay, bone marrow ang affected dito. Many bone marrows or multiple bone marrows are affected with what? Oma. Pag sinabi mong oma, that means cancer. That means cancer. So many bone marrows are affected with what? Cancer. So guys, the simplest definition of cancer, guys, is that you have a lot of undisciplined cells that are rapidly dividing without knowing when to stop growing, when to stop replicating, when to stop dividing. That's why they grow so much so that they become tumors. And guys, yun yung pinagkaiba nila with normal cells. Because normal cells, they know when to stop. They know when to divide. Okay? Yun yung pinagkaiba nila. Cancer cells, on the other hand, are very undisciplined cells. They just grow and grow and grow and grow, and they use a lot of nutrients from your body for them to grow without stopping. That's why they create tumors. You get a patient na sobrang payat and malnourished, diba? They lose a lot of weight because all of the reserves of that patient is used by the cancer cells to create a lot of cancer cells, claro, destroying the body of the patient. So in this case, nasaan ang cancer? Saan siya nag-grow? Inside the bone marrow. And many bone marrows are affected. Guys, bone marrow, that one we usually see that on our flat bones. Located in our flat bones yan, guys. So when you say flat bones, the bones of your skull is a flat bone. Yung sa scapula mo, guys, or shoulder blades, okay? Yung ribs natin, yung sternum natin, yung hips natin, yung ends of our spine, okay? Of our spine. And even the distal parts of our long bones. Yan lahat. May mga flat bones yan dyan. And they contain bone marrow. So, dyan sa loob ng bone marrow, affected by cancer. So, imagine, inside the bone marrow, there are rapidly dividing cells that are growing, okay, without any discipline, not knowing when to stop. Anong nangyayari? Since the bone marrow is inside the bones, when they grow, they destroy the bones. And when they destroy the bones, what's inside the bone? Calcium. Klaro ba? That's why the calcium level will increase secondary to what? Bone destruction. Okay? Increase in your bone destruction from the rapidly dividing cells or the rapidly growing cancer cells inside the bone marrow. Hence the term multiple myeloma or multiple bone marrows affected by cancer. That's the only correct answer. Letter A, increase in the white blood cells, is not the correct answer. Your immune system cannot detect cancer because cancer cells are basically your own cells, and your immune cells will not attack your own cells because when they look at these cells, they will see, oh, this is the cell of your body. So hindi niya gagalawin. Okay? Kaya walang immune response ang cells natin or ang immune system natin towards cancer, because basically cancer cells are the cells of our body that has lost its discipline and it's just rapidly dividing and using our resources in the body without any restraint. Okay? So, that's the letter A is the correct answer. Letter C, decreased blood urea nitrogen. And pag bumaba yan, that's nothing abnormal. Okay? That's nothing wrong. Okay? And letter D, when you say decreased number of plasma cells in the bone marrow, wrong yan. Dapat tataas. Increase in the growth of the plasma cells in the bone marrow because that's your multiple myeloma. The bone marrows, they contain plasma cells. And kapag yan ang sobrang dumama guys, plasma cells, pero they are cancerous plasma cells. Because yung normal plasma cells ng body natin, they are supposed to be part of our immune system. But the point of the matter here is that naging abnormal, naging cancer cells yung plasma cells natin inside our bone marrow, hence causing your multiple myeloma. Okay? So that's why dapat letter D would be correct if we say there is increased number of abnormally proliferating plasma cells in the bone marrow. That one is the definition of your multiple myeloma. Okay? So, pag sinabing decreased, mali. Dapat dumami ang abnormal plasma cells or malignant plasma cells or proliferative plasma cells that are cancerous in the bone marrow, hence causing the increase in calcium levels from the bone destruction. Okay, that's for number 1. All right, let's do number 2. The nurse is creating a plan of care for Noel with multiple myeloma. Which priority intervention should be included? Letter A, encouraging fluids. Letter B, providing frequent oral care. Letter C, coughing and deep breathing. And letter D, monitoring the red blood cell count. Okay, and the only correct answer is letter A, encouraging fluids. Guys, remember when we said multiple myeloma is increase in the abnormal plasma cells. Okay? Plasma cells found in the bone marrow causing too much bone destruction. Tama ba? Bone destruction. Hence, you get what? Hypercalcemia. Diba? Masyadong maraming calcium in the blood from the bones that are being broken down by the rapidly dividing cells inside the bone marrow. Okay? So guys, when you have too much calcium in the blood, then you will have all of that deposited in your kidney. So meron kang increased risk for what? Kidney stones. Pwede kang magkaroon yan. And aside from that, guys, when you have too much calcium in the blood and that one cannot be filtered out by the kidney effectively, guys, that one can have a potential to damage your kidney. Okay, so how do you try to even out the problem of hypercalcemia in the blood? Okay, para hindi niya maapektuhan ng kidney mo, encourage fluids. Kasi ang ginagawa ng tubig dyan, guys, it will dilute. Okay, it will dilute too much of your calcium or your hypercalcemia. Okay, it will dilute hypercalcemia and then it will promote the excretion of calcium via what? Diuresis. Ayan. So, it will promote excretion para mas makaihi ka ng maayos, para mas ma-flush out mo ang too much calcium in the blood or hypercalcemia. Okay? Secondary to the effect of your multiple myeloma, encouraging fluid is the best answer for this question. Letter B, providing frequent oral care is not needed and not indicated. Coughing and deep breathing, wala namang affected na lung tissue dito. Okay? Monitoring the red blood cell count, you don't do that here yet. Okay, because what we're discussing is just a patient with multiple myeloma. Alright, so that's the only correct answer for number 2. Alright, number 3. While caring for Lisa with cervical cancer who has an internal radiation implant, the nurse finds the implant in the bed. What is the initial action? So, letter A, call the primary healthcare provider. Letter B, reinsert the implant into the vagina. Letter C, pick up the implant with gloved hands and flush it. Letter D, pick up the implant with long-handled forceps and place it in a lead container. And the only correct answer is letter D. Pick up the implant with a long-handled forceps and place it in a lead container. Guys, tingnan mo, si Lisa merong cervical cancer. So, naglagay tayo ng internal implant sa cervix niya. Pag sinabi mong internal radiation implant, guys, that's a radiation therapy. Okay? Pag internal implant, guys, tapos radiation pinag-usapan dito, this one is a radiation. But the question is, what kind of radiation? You call this kind of therapy your brachytherapy. Brachytherapy. That's the radiation na sobrang dikit na dikit sa pasyente, guys. Okay, so when you say brachytherapy, guys, like your internal radiation implant for cervical cancer, this one, God bless me. This one is an implant that we place inside, no, closest to the cervix, inside the cervix, to have a localized effect on the cervix and destroy rapidly dividing cells there. So, di ba guys, in cancer, meron tayong different treatment protocols. Number one, surgery to remove the tumor. That's one of the easiest way to do for your cancer therapy. Just remove the tumor para ma-decrease mo ng sobra yung size ng tumor na nag-grow. Number two is radiation, which is a localized radiation given to the area where there is cancer, because the radiation will kill all the rapidly dividing cell in that area. So for this one, an internal radiation implant, nilagay natin sa internal part, which is the cervix. Para magkaroon ng localized effect doon, ang radiation will cause radiation on the cervix and will kill the rapidly dividing cells in the cervix. Klaro ba? Kaya tayo gamit ng radiation implant or internal radiation implant. And the third one, guys, is your chemotherapy. Siyempre, later natin discuss yan pag nagkaroon tayo ng chemotherapy question. So, that's it. The nurse finds na ang implant na nilagay natin sa loob ng cervix ay napunta sa bed niya. Siyempre, anong initial action mo, guys? Guys, ganito lang, okay? Pag yung implant na nawala from its location, like this one, it should be inside the cervix. Ang gagawin ng nurse is pick upin mo yung implant using a long-handled forceps, and never with your gloved hands, never with your bare hands, never with your hands, kahit ano pang tinakip mo dyan, okay? Kahit yung gloves pa ni, guys, ni Thanos, cannot be, alright? Ang pwede mo lang gamitin is an alternative extension of your arm or your hands, which is a long-handled forceps. Because remember, that implant emits radiation. And that radiation is supposed to be given towards cancer cells or rapidly dividing cells, and not your hands or your fingers as a nurse. Hindi pwede. Okay? Dyan na pupunta ang radiation, guys. Ikaw ang affected. Para ba yun? So, cannot be. Because remember, your radiation, aside from it impacting or affecting your rapidly dividing cells, it can also affect normal cells. Clara ba? Yes, it's a double-edged sword. It destroys rapidly dividing cells like your cancer cells. It can also have the propensity to damage normal cells. Clara ba yon? There is always a side effect to these treatment. So, the side effect is, pag hinawakan mo yan with your hands, naka-gloves man, naka-whatever man, basta gamit ang kamay mo, pwedeng pati kamay mo maapektuhan, which is dapat hindi. Klaro ba yun? Yes. And place it in a lead container. So guys, listen to this. Ang radiation natin, it cannot penetrate lead. Okay? Lead. Ito lang talaga ang hindi niya kayang i-penetrate. So for example, like this one, nakawala yung radiation implant natin na dapat ay nasa loob ng cervix. Ang gagawin mo ay ilalagay mo siya sa lead container para ma-contain mo yung radiation doon. Ma-contain mo doon ang radiation at hindi kumalat sa room, hindi kumalat sa ibang tao. Klaro ba yon? At walang maapektuhan sa radiation. Okay? So guys, that's the only correct answer, letter D. And then after doing letter D, that's the first. Kasi ang tanong sa'yo, initial action. So this one is asking for prioritization. The only correct answer is letter D. That's the first thing that the nurse will do. And then you call the healthcare provider, number 2. Okay, call the healthcare provider after. Kasi kung may magbabalik man yan, guys, or magde-decide kung anong gagawin after kasi natanggal yung radiation implant natin, it will be the doctor in charge of the care of the patient and not the nurse. Okay, so the only correct answer is letter D, followed by letter A as the second thing that you will do, and never ever letter B or letter C. You don't reinsert that as a nurse, and you don't use your gloved hands or whatever kind of hands to pick up that implant. All right, that's number 3. Number 4. During admission assessment of Ningguang with advanced ovarian cancer, which manifestation is most typical? Letter A, diarrhea. Letter B, hypermenorrhea. Letter C, abnormal bleeding. Letter D, abdominal distension. So guys, tandaan mo to ha. Guys, the only correct answer for number 4 is letter C, abnormal bleeding. Alright? That's the only correct answer. Anong sakit ng pasyente mo, guys? Advanced ovarian cancer. So think, yung ovaries ng babae, guys, yan yung involved para sa regulation ng menses, regulation ng egg cell, ng fertility, ng ovulation. Tama ba? Yes. And ang hallmark na tayo ay nag-ovulate is menses. Tama ba? So isipin mo lang, that one, normal physiology of the ovaries are becoming abnormal. Okay, nawawalan ng restraint, nawawalan ng disiplina ang ovarian cells natin. So, anong gagawin nila, guys? They will cause abnormal bleeding. Pwede kang mag-bleed ng sobra, okay? Pwede din mawalan ng bleeding, okay? Just think abnormal bleeding. Pwede din dapat na hindi ka na mag-bleed ay nag-bleed ka. For example, guys, meron kang pasyente na sabi niya menopausal na siya, tapos bigla siyang nagkaroon ng bleeding ulit after years of being menopause. Okay? That's a red flag. Dapat yan nire-report sa physician. We have to assess for the potential of either a uterine cancer, okay, number 1, uterine cancer, or pwede din baka may risk of ovarian cancer. Klaro ba yon? For this one, the only correct answer is letter C. Guys, tingnan mo, pag sumagot ka ng letter B, hypermenorrhea, ibig sabihin, mas nag-bleed ng sobra ang pasyente mo, that is still under abnormal bleeding. So, by the test-taking strategy na tinatawag natin na umbrella effect, alright, sorry, umbrella effect, then the only correct answer is letter C because letter B is under letter C. Okay, abnormal bleeding. So, wala tayong abdominal distension. That is very vague. Vague. Ibig sabihin, it will not tell you anything. Baka kabag lang yan. Baka stool lang na hindi nalabas. Okay? Baka may nakain na masama. The point is, it's very vague. Diarrhea is also very vague. Can be caused by a lot of things. But definitely not ovarian cancer. Okay? It will not tell you, oh, this is ovarian cancer. Or it's not a red flag for ovarian cancer. So, either of B or C lang. The only correct answer is letter C. Anong sabi natin? Letter B, hypermenorrhea, because of the umbrella effect, can be under letter C. So letter C is our best answer. All right, number 5. The nurse is teaching Bennett about testicular self-examination or TSE. Which instruction should be given? Oh, sobrang basic, guys. Letter A, examine the testicles while lying down. Letter B, perform the exam after a shower. Letter C, use one finger to feel for growths. Or letter D, perform TSE every 6 months. And the only correct answer is letter B. Perform the exam after a shower. Particularly, what kind of shower, guys? Warm shower. Warm shower. So, kapag nag-warm shower ka, alright, ang nangyayari kasi, your scrotum, the one that houses your testes, diba guys? Meron tayong scrotum. Ayan, yung nagha-house sa testes natin. Andito yung testes natin sa loob. Anong gusto natin gawin? Testicular self-examination. So, to feel for the surface, for the consistency, for any lumps on your testes, you have to have the scrotum to lie further from the shaft of the penis. So, dapat medyo lumayo muna siya sa shaft ng penis niya or lumayo muna siya sa body ng katawan or sa katawan ng tao. Sa body, sa katawan ng tao. So, dapat siya ay medyo lumaylay. Okay? Dapat nasa laylayan muna siya ng konti para magkaroon tayo ng further exposure of the area so that we can palpate and feel better for the testicles. That's why the only correct answer is letter B. Guys, letter A, examine the testes while lying down. No, the best is, dapat ikaw ay nakastand, tapos meron mirror. Required ang may mirror, ma'am. Guys, dapat ang best is nakatayo ka sa harapan ng salamin so that you can see for the testes and the scrotum kung balance ba sila, okay? Normal lang na may konting diferensya na mas mataas yung isa tapos yung isa nasa baba, okay? Normal lang yon. Pero pag sobrang laki naman ang difference, guys, yung isa sobrang liit, yung isa sobrang laki, that's abnormal. You have to report to the doctor, okay? Standing in front of a mirror, that's the best. You don't lie down. And then, use one finger, wrong. You use your fingertips. Lahat yan, guys. Both hands. Hindi isa lang. Klaro? Itong dalawang kamay ang nagkakapa. So, guys, for example, eto na lang. Okay? So, guys, for example, this is your testes. Okay, eto, sa dalawang scrotum mo. So, dapat both of your hands should feel around. Okay? Ayun. Unahin mo muna one testis at a time. So, eto muna. Ayan, ikot-ikutin mo, and then on the other hand, ikot-ikutin mo yung testis mo. The point is, you are using both of your hands on your finger, both of your hands with the fingertips, okay? Dalawang kamay ang gamit dyan, not just one finger, okay? Or not just one hand. Alright. And then perform TSE every 6 months? No. You perform that every month consistently. So if you're performing this every first of the month, then you have to do that every first of the month. Okay? Para siyang monthsary, guys. Okay? Dapat once a month, consistent date. So kung gusto mo every quincenas, go. Kung gusto mo every 30, go. Basta ang point is every month, not every 6 months. Alright? Ayun. So that's number 5. Number 6, the nurse is teaching Amber about colorectal cancer risk. factors. Which statement indicates a need for further teaching? So guys, alam mo na yan. Pag nakita natin ang salita na a need for further teaching, ibig sabihin we are looking for the wrong answer. Lagyan mo ng malaking X para hindi mo makalimutan na naghahanap tayo ng maling sagot. Letter A, age younger than 50 years. Letter B, history of colorectal polyp. Or letter C, family history of colorectal cancer. Or letter D, chronic inflammatory bowel disease. And the only correct answer is letter A. Yan lang ang mali dyan, guys. Yan yung needs for further teaching. Ibig sabihin, mali yan pag vinervalize niya na age younger than 15. Guys, remember this, guys, ha? Among all the factors or the risk factors of cancer, age is number 1. Number 1. Talaga, ma'am? Number 1 ang age. Yes. Hindi smoking, hindi alcohol, alright? Hindi UV rays, alright? Or UV rays from the sun. Hindi. Number 1 is age. Ibig sabihin, the older you are, the more faulty your DNA replication becomes, giving you higher chance of cancer development, making your cells more prone to errors in creating other cells that are supposed to be normal. So, the moment naging abnormal yung creation ng cells mo kasi nagkakaroon sila ng errors in between the creation of cells or them replicating themselves to create new cells because of old age. Alright? Kasi masyado ka nang matanda. That's the one that's the highest risk of cancer. Number 1, age. Ang age natin, guys. And also, age suggests exposure to a lot of different things, especially carcinogenic things that can promote the growth of cancer, like smoking, all right, like alcohol, like UV rays, like asbestos, okay, like a faulty diet, all right, and the likes. So, letter A is wrong. Kasi sabi niya younger than 50. No, it should be older than 50 years old. Yan yung risk factor natin for your colorectal cancer risk. Younger than 50 years old, guys, does not mean automatically you will have your colorectal cancer risk. Sabi nga natin, age. Old age. Ano dapat? Old age. The younger you are, the more fresh or fresher, okay? Yung mga cells mo and the way they create other cells. So, medyo, ano pa sila? Healthy and perfect and walang problema and discipline. Pero pag medyo matanda na, guys, doon na nagkakaroon ng errors. So, dapat old age. Younger than 50 is definitely not old age. Now, letter B, history of colorectal polyp is a risk factor for colorectal cancer. Because when you say polyp, guys, this is growth, di ba? For example, you have your colon. Meron kang growth or overgrowth of polyp. Yan yung tinatawag natin na polyp. Growth. Para siyang tumor, but most of the time, this is benign. Pero pag lagi kang merong ganyan, guys, that can increase your risk of cancer. Kasi ano yan? Overgrowth of tissue. Diba? Sabi natin, cancer is what? The creation of a lot of cells without any discipline, without any restraint. So, parang ganyan din. Klaro? More of that, pwede ka magkaroon ng cancer. That one increases the risk of cancer, yung colorectal polyp. Family history of colorectal cancer, all the more. Sabi nga nila, if you have family members, lalo na yung mga direct, immediate family members, mga first degree family members na may cancer, you have higher risk of developing the same cancers. For example, mother, father with colorectal cancer, ikaw na child nila, you can also have the risk of colorectal cancer, higher risk compared to other people. Klaro ba? Ganon. Chronic inflammatory bowel disease. So, pag sinabi natin na inflammatory bowel disease, this one we mean your Crohn's disease and as well as your ulcerative colitis, guys. Remember this and don't forget, Crohn's and ulcerative colitis, they are risk factors for colorectal cancer. Pag may Crohn's disease ka, likely you will have colorectal cancer. The same with ulcerative colitis. It also increases your chances of getting your, colorectal cancer. Kasi both of these, guys, are diseases of the intestines. Tama ba? So, pwedeng si Crohn's, from the small intestine, di ba, it's a descending pattern. It can go to your colons. Alright? The moment it affects your colons, it can increase your risk for colorectal cancer. Si ulcerative colitis naman, from the word itself, colitis, so colon talagang ina-affect niya at ini-inflame niya, that one can also increase your risk of colorectal cancer. So, galing sa damages na nagagawa ni Crohn's and ulcerative, sa lining ng colon natin, nagiging imperfect yung mga cells doon and then they start becoming abnormal and malignant and then nawawalan ng disiplina until such time they divide a lot of times, nawawalan ng restraint, okay, at nagiging cancer cells at nagiging tumor. Klara ba? So that's So letter B, C, and D, basically they are all risk factors for colorectal cancer. Letter A, on the other hand, is the wrong answer. Okay, yan yung mali. Yan yung hindi risk factor. Alright, number 7. The nurse reviews the history of Diluc with bladder cancer. Which most common sign is expected? Letter A, dysuria. Letter B, hematuria. Letter C, urgency on urination. Letter D, frequency on urination. Okay? And the only correct answer is letter B, hematuria. And the hematuria is usually painless. Painless hematuria. In fact, that's one of the earliest signs of your bladder cancer, guys, no? Painless hematuria. So, saan nanggagaling yan? Just as what I've mentioned, when you say cancer cells, it's a normal cell na naging abnormal at nawalan ng disiplina. They rapidly divide until they become tumor. So just like this one, bladder cancer, yung bladder tissues mo or bladder cells, they are supposed to be there and normal and perfect. Pag naging abnormal, they grow rapidly, they start destroying tissues, and then they create injury. Pag nagkaroon ng injury, they can cause bleeding inside your bladder. Claro? And that's the one that will cause hematuria that is painless. So, pag nagabuwiwi ka, yung ihi mo, merong konting dugo, sometimes you can see it with your eyes. Alright? Ayun. So, guys, that's your painless hematuria. So, when you say dysuria or difficulty urinating, hard to say it's bladder cancer. Can be a sign of UTI, di ba? Urinary tract infection, dysuria, painful urination, or burning urination. Ito nga, painless hematuria. Wala kang nafe-feel na sakit, pero merong dugo ang wiwi mo. And then urgency and frequency urination, all of these can also be a sign of UTI. So, medyo vague to say that that's bladder cancer. Kasi most of the time, when you say urgency on urination or frequency on urination, you can say that that's UTI. Klaro? Rather than bladder cancer. So, letter B ang pinaka-bladder cancer na symptoms, guys. Okay? So, that's the only correct answer. Number 8. The nurse monitors Kaya for superior vena cava syndrome, which is an early sign. Letter A, cyanosis. Letter B, arm edema. Letter C, periorbital edema. Or letter D, mental status changes. Alright, and the only correct answer is periorbital edema. Ibig sabihin, guys, if this is your eyes, ayan, when you say periorbital edema, nagkakaroon ng edema formation around the eyes. So, guys, meron kang edema around the eyes. Periorbital. Ayan. So, bakit nagkakaroon ng ganyan? Guys, remember this. If this is your heart, you have the superior vena cava entering the right atrium and the inferior vena cava entering the right atrium. The superior vena cava is the one that receives blood from the upper portion of the body, your head and your arms, klaro ba? The upper extremities. While the inferior vena cava naman receives blood from the lower extremities and lower organs. Now, when you say superior vena cava syndrome, remember this. This is an oncological emergency. It's one of the oncological emergency that you have there, guys. Ibig sabihin, an emergency, a life-threatening consequence of cancer. So, isa na dyan sa superior vena cava syndrome. Okay? Marami pa yan, guys. May tumor lysis syndrome, merong SIAD, alright, and the rest. Okay, we'll discuss when they come in the question. When you say superior vena cava syndrome, guys, it's because the superior vena cava is being compressed by, you guessed it right, by a cancer cell. So, guys, ganito siya. Diba? If that is your superior vena cava and you have cancer, since this is an oncological emergency, so cancer ang nagkakos. Guys, you have a growing tumor here. And if that tumor, alright, if that tumor starts to press on the superior vena cava, press, compress, obstruct. So, ibig sabihin, hindi na nakakadalo yung dugo ng maayos dyan. Natrap na yung dugo sa upper extremities or sa head, klaro? Kasi meron kang tumor na nagbablock sa circulation from the superior vena cava entering the right atrium. Ano ang effect niya? Edema on the upper part of the body, especially the face. The first that you will notice is the periorbital edema. That's the earliest manifestation of your superior vena cava syndrome. Galing saan, guys? Tumor. Tumor that is obstructing the blood flow from the superior vena cava going to the right atrium. Klaro ba yun? Kaya tinawag natin yan na superior vena cava syndrome. Okay? Anong pinaka-common na nagkakos ito ng cancer, guys? Remember, it's your lung cancer. So, pwedeng the primary lung cancer talaga, kung may lung cancer ang pasyente mo, pwede din metastasis to the lungs, causing lung cancer. So, initially, iba yung cancer niya, tapos napunta sa lungs, nag-metastasize sa lungs, nagkaroon ng tumor din sa lungs niya, so that's a secondary cancer. Basta, ang point is, basta nasa lungs na ang cancer mo, it can increase your risk of having superior vena cava syndrome. What else, guys? Lymphoma. So, when you say lymphoma, from the word itself, lymph, ang lymph node mo may oma. When you say oma, cancer. Tama ba? Basta lymph na nagkaroon ng tumor growth near the superior vena cava, that one increases the risk of what? Superior vena cava syndrome. So just think, lungs lymphoma, these types of cancer are the ones that can trigger or can increase your risk of developing the oncological emergency we call superior vena cava syndrome. Alright? So, ganun siya, guys. Cyanosis, no. Okay? Arm edema, guys. Siguro kapag nagpa-breast cancer removal ka ng arm edema, most commonly yan nakikita natin kapag may mga patients tayo na with breast cancer tapos nagpa-mastectomy, di ba? It's a complication of mastectomy with the removal of the lymph nodes, nagkakaroon ng arm edema, okay, on the affected arm. Kung, for example, right mastectomy, edi right arm yung pwedeng affected, magkakaroon ng right arm edema. Pero definitely not your superior vena cava syndrome. Mental status changes also does not include here. Alright, the only correct answer is letter C, periorbital edema. Charlie. Alright, number 9. The nurse manager teaches staff about hypercalcemia in Zhongli with metastatic prostate cancer, which is a late sign. Alright. Letter A, headache. Letter B, dysphagia. Letter C, constipation. Letter D, electrocardiographic changes. Alam mo na yan, guys. Basta calcium, tapos anong affected na organ? Walang iba kundi ang puso. O ba't lumiit? Edi letter D, electrocardiographic changes or your ECG changes. Alright? Guys, alam mo na yan, di ba? Basta potassium, basta calcium, basta magnesium. These electrolytes, if they are abnormally low or abnormally high, they can change the electrocardiographic imaging of the patient. They will have ECG changes. Tawa ba yun? So, this one is hypercalcemia. Guys, don't forget this. Bakit nagkaroon ng hypercalcemia sa cancer? Kanina na-discuss natin for multiple myeloma, right? That's a different case. Yun siya, specific for multiple myeloma. Now, guys, hypercalcemia, on the other hand, this one in and of itself in cancer, basta cancer ang pinag-uusapan natin, guys, this is also one of your oncologic emergencies. Oncologic emergency. So, ibig sabihin, this can happen as a complication of cancer, whatever kind of cancer. In what way, ma'am? Ba't siya nagiging oncologic emergency? This happens when there is already bone metastasis. Ibig sabihin, umabot na sa buto mo yung cancer mo. For example, you have lung cancer. Tapos, nag-metastasize siya sa bone. The moment your lung cancer starts to transfer to your bone and become bone cancer, metastasis to the bone, you can have your hypercalcemia, oncological emergency. Guys, liver cancer na napunta sa bone metastasis, oncologic emergency of hypercalcemia. So, you get the point. Claro? Basta nag-metastasize na sa bone, you can get the oncological emergency, which is your hypercalcemia. So, what's the ECG change, guys, kapag meron kang hypercalcemia? So, you will have shortened QT interval. So, shortened ang QT interval mo. So, basically, guys, I will just explain how it looks, no, from the normal into the shortened QT interval. So, guys, you have your PQRST. Tama ba? PQRST. So, when you say QT interval, it's the Q and the T. Shortened, umikli. And normally, ganito siya dapat kahaba. Klaro? So, shortened siya, guys. You just have to draw that or think about that in a shortened. Ayun. Okay, so I don't know if that does justice to this one. So, guys, paumanhin na lang sa aking drawing. PQRST. So, that one, you see a shortened QT interval. Q wave to the T wave. shortened. Alright? So, pag nakita mo yun sa ECG, it's hard to see it, guys. Okay? Kailangan mo talagang makita yan in an ECG strip kung saan makita mo yung mga maliliit na boxes to count for the number of seconds. Okay? And that ECG discussion is another day for another day yan, guys. I have a lecture for that, full ECG, guys. I-plug ko na dito if you wanna learn that. Meron tayong cardiac dysrhythmia playlist dito sa YouTube. You can watch it there, okay? If you wanna learn more about that. But for hypercalcemia, what you have to know as a nurse is that it causes shortened QT interval. So, pag narinig mo shortened QT interval, yan na hypercalcemia yan. That's the ECG change of your hypercalcemia. Shortened QT interval. So, ayan, that's the only correct answer for number 9. Okay, that's the late sign. Alright, that's number 9. Number 10, while teaching Fischl about chemotherapy, nadir, and bleeding precautions, which statement indicates a need for further teaching? Nandiyan na naman ang salitang a need for further teaching. Ibig sabihin ng a need for further teaching, guys, you are looking for the wrong answer. Because when you say need for further teaching, ibig sabihin may mali na sinabi ang pasyente natin. Okay? Si Fischl na tinuturuan mo about chemotherapy, nadir. Alright. So, erase ko lang ito. Parang hindi na masyado siyang klaro dito. Oh. Ayun. Chemotherapy, nadir. Ayan. Alright. So, letter A, I should avoid blowing my nose. Oh. I should avoid blowing my nose. Or letter B, I may need a platelet transfusion. Letter C, I take aspirin for my headache. Letter D, I will count pads and tampons used. So, alin ang mali dyan? Pinakamali na sinabi niya. Needs for further teaching. Kailangan mo siya turuan ulit. Eh, di walang iba kundi ano? Charlie. I'll take aspirin for my headache. Aspirin daw, iinom siya, and naka-nadir siya. First and foremost, ano ba ang nadir? Guys, don't forget this. Pag nakita mo ang salitang nadir, that word in cancer, it means lowest of the lows. Lowest of lows ang tawag natin dyan. What do you mean lowest of the lows, ma'am? That is the severe bone marrow depression. Okay? Severe. That is severe bone marrow depression. So, think about it. Ano bang ginagawa ng bone marrow natin? Just like what I discussed. Meron kang red marrow tsaka yellow marrow. This one, we talk about the red marrow. Okay? So, in the red marrow, guys, anong ginagawa mo? Red blood cells, white blood cells, as well as your platelets. Sila lahat ang ginagawa ng red marrow mo inside your bone marrow. And nadir is what? The lowest of the lows. Ibig sabihin, ito yung lowest point ng buhay ni bone marrow. Sobrang baba ng ginagawa niyang red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. Okay? Compared to the normal, usual routine niya. Sobrang bumama yan. Na-depress ang bone marrow mo. Depression of the bone marrow. That's the severe depression of the bone marrow. So, sobrang mali kapag sinabi ng pasyente mo na iinom siya ng aspirin para sa headache. Guys, sige daw, sabihin mo sa akin, aspirin, is that an anti-platelet? Anti-platelet ba yan? Yes, it's an antiplatelet. It can have the risk of what? Bleeding. Okay? So, kung may risk ng bleeding, tapos mababa na nga ang platelet mo, kasi naka-nadir ka, pwede ba yon? Hindi. It's incompatible. Hindi pwede. Mas lalo ka mabibleed dyan. Mas high risk ka for bleeding. So, mali ang Charlie. That's the correct answer. Pag sinabing a need for further teaching, that's the wrong statement from your patient. Letter A, I should avoid blowing my nose. Yes, because your nose can bleed. And when it bleeds, hindi mo makaklat kasi mababa ang platelet mo kasi naka-nadir ka. I may need a platelet transfusion. Yes, no? Pag sinabi ng doktor na a platelet transfusion may benefit the patient because of very low platelet count to prevent the risk of bleeding, then yes, that's also a correct statement. I will count the pads and tampons used. Yes. Okay, baka mamaya ay nagkakaroon na pala ng uterine bleeding, hindi natin alam. Klaro ba yun? So, dapat bilangin natin kung ilan yung usual pads and tampons na nagagamit na pasyente mo to check if meron na bang bleeding na nangyayari. That's number 10. Alright, number 11. The community health nurse teaches Barbara and other young clients about breast self-examination. So, BSE naman, guys. When should it be performed? Letter A, at onset of menstruation. Letter B, during ovulation monthly. Letter C, weekly at same time. Or letter D, 1 week after menstruation begins. And the only correct answer is, alam na natin to girls and boys, kung hindi nyo pa alam. The only correct answer is letter D. Delta. 1 week after menstruation begins. Kung kailan hindi na tender ang breasts. Tama ba? Yes, because remember, hormonal changes because of menstruation, lalo na before menses and during menses, hindi ka pwedeng mag-BSE during that time or breast self-examination kasi meron pang tender breast ang mga babae during those times, before and during menses because of the hormonal changes of the body. So when is the best time to do it? In a menstruating client, 1 week after menses begins or 7 days after menses begins. Kasi during that time, wala nang breast tenderness. Comfortable na gawin ang procedure. Guys, 1 week after menses and you do that monthly. Monthly. Ito para sa mga patients na nagme-mens pa. Guys, paano kapag menopause na sila? Siyempre, kapag mga menopausal women, do they need to do BSE pa rin? Yes, okay? Yes, you still need to do that. That's the most basic assessment you can do to yourself. Claro, that will check if meron ka bang risk for changes in the breast or detect changes in your breast. Claro? So guys, menopause, para naman sa mga menopause is once a month. Okay? Once a month, same date. Same day, once a month. Okay? Ano ba tong spelling natin? Once a month. So for example, ako, menopausal na ako, I want to do this every first of the month, then I would have to do this every first of the month. Kasi wala naman akong regla to use as a marker kung kailan ko siya gagawin. Dapat after menses, wala akong menses. So, same day every month. So, once a month, same day. Ikaw na bahala mag-isip kung anong month ang gusto mo. Or anong araw ang gusto mo. Okay? At the onset of menstruation, no, tender pa ang breast. During ovulation, monthly, no, tender pa ang breast. Okay? Dapat meron tayong hallmark. And this is the only correct answer. 1 week after menses. Weekly? No. Monthly lang po. Okay? Sobra naman sa weekly, guys. Over naman. Next, number 12. The nurse is caring for Beidou after mastectomy. Which intervention helps prevent lymphedema? Lymphedema. Letter A, apply cool compresses. Letter B, elevate arm above heart level. Letter C, avoid arm exercises. Letter D, maintain IV below antecubital area. And the only correct answer is you have to letter B, elevate the arm above the heart level. So medyo na-segue natin siya kanina, guys. Ano yan? Lymphedema after mastectomy. So guys, eto, you elevate the arm above the heart level to prevent lymphedema. Bakit magkakaroon ng lymphedema, guys? Because during mastectomy, guys, we also remove the lymph nodes. Okay? Why do we need to remove the lymph nodes during mastectomy, guys? Kasi yung mga cancer cells natin, they metastasize using your blood. Okay? They use your blood as a way to spread themselves. They also use your lymph nodes to spread themselves. So, di ba nagkaroon siya ng breast cancer? Kaya nagmastectomy tayo to remove the tumor and yung mga breast cancer cells na pwede nating ma-remove during the surgery. It will prevent the cancer from metastasizing. That's why we do that. We also remove the lymph nodes. But the effect of that after surgery is that mawawala na tayo ng lymph nodes. So, ano bang ginagawa ng lymph nodes sa katawan natin, guys? Makinig ka. For example, itong arm ko. Every time nagkakaroon ng any injury dito or any trauma in this arm, ang lymph node ko ang nagde-drain ng excess fluid. Okay? Kung wala akong lymph node, mag-accumulate ang fluid sa arm ko. So, for example, guys, itong arm na to, nanuntok. Okay? Ako na ang nanuntok. Ako pa ang nasaktan sa wall, for example. So, nagkaroon ako ng injury dito. Nagkakaroon ng inflammation. Okay? Yung inflammation and injury dyan, guys, and the swelling, kaya yan nawawala because our lymph node collects all the excess fluid and drain it out our body. Circulate it out our body. Pag wala ka ng lymph node, guys, every time this arm has trauma, okay, kasi tinanggal mo yung lymph node in this area sa may kilikili towards the breast. Pag tinanggal mo na yon, wala nang magda-drain ng any excess fluid from this arm from injury or trauma, tulad nung na-mention ko kanina. So, dapat ang ginagawa natin dyan, ine-elevate natin yan siya after the surgery. Because is the surgery traumatizing to the tissues? Yes. Meron bang swelling and inflammation after surgery? Yes. At wala ka ng lymph node to drain the excess fluid. So you have to elevate that above the heart level. Why? By virtue of gravity, it will drain the excess fluid that will accumulate in your arm. If nilagay mo yan sa baba, for example guys, right mastectomy or left mastectomy, yung arm affected. So kung right mastectomy yung right arm, i-elevate mo. Pag nilagay mo yan sa baba, guys, mag-accumulate ang fluid dyan. Yung kamay mo mamaya, mamagang-maga na yan, okay? At mahirap nang tanggalin ang nag-ipon na edema dyan. You call that your lymph edema. Kasi yung cause is the absence of the lymph node, hence lymph edema. So you have to elevate the arm above the heart level. Alright? So guys, you cannot apply cool or warm compresses. Extreme temperatures on the affected limb, kung saan ka nagmastectomy, will cause fluid accumulation in that area, will cause the lymph edema. So, bawal. And then, avoid arm exercises. You cannot do that yet kasi arm exercises early on post-op may cause lymph edema. So, dapat i-elevate mo muna yan on the first hours post-surgery. Maintain IV low below antecubital area. That's the point. You cannot have any IV insertions. Guys, bawal ang IV, bawal ang injection, bawal ang BP sa area na yan, bawal ang any puncture. Okay, kuha ng dugo, bawal. Basta wag mong gagalawin ng arm affected from the mastectomy. Cannot be. Bakit? You increase the risk of what? Lymph edema. That's why you cannot do that. Can't. Okay, bawal ang lahat ng bagay na yan. Basically, do not apply any trauma to this arm. Bawal ka din magbuhat dyan, bawal ka magluto gamit yan, bawal ka maglaba gamit yan, bawal. Okay, so dapat i-elevate mo lang yan siya post-surgery. So the only correct answer is letter B. Bravo. Number 13, which client is at the highest risk for colorectal cancer? Sige nga, Razor who smokes, Sucrose who eats a vegetarian diet, or Xiangling who treated for Crohn's disease for 20 years, or Chongyun with family history of lung cancer. Nasegue na natin to kanina, guys. 'Di ba? We said Charlie is the only correct answer. That's the one with the what? Highest risk of colorectal cancer. Remember, mga inflammatory bowel disease natin like your Crohn's, like your ulcerative colitis, they increase the risk of your cancer in the colorectal area. So guys, who smokes? Ang pwedeng magiging cancer dyan is the lung cancer. Tama ba? The most basic one. So pag smoking, ang affected ang lungs. So lung cancer. Who eats a vegetarian diet, guys? That one, pag vegetarian diet yan, high fiber diet yan, guys. Ang high fiber, pangontra yan sa colorectal cancer. Pangontra. Tandaan mo yan, okay? Pangontra. So, the higher the fiber in your diet, the lesser the risk of colorectal cancer. Yun yung sa studies natin. Pero on the other hand, pag low fiber lagi ang diet mo, guys, that's the one that increases the risk of colorectal cancer. So letter B is actually good. It will not increase your colorectal cancer. It will actually reduce it. Chongyu, the family history of lung cancer. So kung ang family niya may lung cancer, ano pwedeng magkaroon kay Chongyun? Syempre, lung cancer din. Okay? So yan guys, yan yung risk niya, but not colorectal cancer. Klaro ba yon? Yes, family history plays a role, but depends on the kind of cancer that your family has. Yun din yung high risk sa'yo as the offspring or the anak. So si Chongyun, hindi colorectal cancer, kundi lung cancer kasi yun yung meron sa family history niya. Gets niya ba? Yes, alright. So that's number 13. Number 14. Either with testicular cancer is concerned about fertility. When should sperm banking be done? Okay, letter A, before treatment starts. Letter B, once treatment is tolerated. Letter C, after treatment completion. Or letter D, when tumor markers normalize. And the only correct answer is before treatment starts. So guys, anong meron si Either? Testicular cancer. So sa testis niya may cancer. So ibig sabihin, lahat ng function ng testis niya nagiging abnormal. Nagkikreate ng sobrang daming cells na walang disiplina, walang restraint, and then they grow a tumor. Kasi nga, they grow rapidly without anything that's stopping them. Wala silang disiplina sa pag-grow. Tama ba yon? Yes. So, kailan siya mag-sperm banking? Kasi gusto niya magkaroon ng anak in the near future. Is that possible? Yes. Alright. But I don't know if there are options in the Philippines, guys. But for what I know in the US, okay, outside the Philippines, okay, there are options for this. Okay? You can bank your sperm. And as a man, yung mga sperm mo, kung quality pa sila, you can bank that and save that for later. Okay? For in vitro pregnancy. Okay? So guys, before treatment starts. So when you say treatment for cancer, tandaan mo, tatlo lang yan. Ang pinakauna natin, surgery to remove the tumor on the testis. Pag nag-surgery ka, edi mahihirapan na siyang magkaroon ng sperm banking. Klaro, mas mahihirapan na tayo kasi meron na tayong surgical post-op considerations and everything. That's the first one. Next one, guys, is radiation. Tama ba? So, guys, pag nag-radiation ka, syempre, localized man yan. Yung radiation, itatama mo sa testis niya to destroy the rapidly dividing cells in the testis. And remember, tulad nung sinabi ko kanina, pag nag-radiation tayo, it can affect both your abnormal cells and as well as your normal cells. Okay, so pwede niya rin sirain pati ang sperm cells mo dyan. Pwedeng maubos ang mga healthy sperm cells mo dyan. Klaro? So, it affects both abnormal and normal cells. So, hindi pwedeng after or during radiation. Cannot be. And then, thirdly, guys, you also have chemotherapy. And tulad niyan, chemotherapy, it affects rapidly dividing cells, which includes your abnormal cell and even your normal cell. Okay? Ang pinagtinan mo, kung mapapansin mo guys, in the treatments of radiation and chemotherapy, both of them are double-edged sword. They affect both the abnormal and normal cells. Ang pinagkaiba lang guys is kung gaano ka affected yung mga cells na to, the degree of the affectedness, the degree of the effect. Pag radiation, localized lang. So, ibig sabihin, localized lang. Localized. Anong affected dito? Abnormal and normal cells localized where? Ano bang cancer meron siya? Testicular cancer. So, testis lang. Yun yung abnormal and normal cells na maapektuhan, but not the entire body. But when you say chemotherapy, guys, this is general in effect. Ibig sabihin, buong katawan mo, head to toe, pwede niyang maapektuhan kasi ini-insert natin yan sa ugat. Klaro? Ini-insert natin sa ugat yan, chemotherapeutic agents, mga gamot natin, chemotherapeutic drugs. So guys, general, the effect is general, not just your testes. It can damage your bone marrow, your hair, your mouth, your GI, alright, your skin, alright. Kaya sobrang daming considerations kapag nag-chemotherapy ka na kasi sobrang daming side effect niya. Klaro ba yun? Yes. Alright? So guys, yun lang naman yung difference for radiation and chemotherapy. But the point of the matter is, kung gusto mo mag-sperm banking, dapat before treatment. Alright? Ayun. So nag-add lang ako ng mga notes para meron kang foundational knowledge for this one. Once treatment is tolerated, hindi na pwede kasi nga may radiation and chemotherapy ka dyan that affects both abnormal and normal cells to include your sperm cells. So, cannot be. Pwedeng maapektuhan na yung quality nila at hindi na sila suitable for pregnancy or bearing children via in vitro pregnancy. Guys, after treatment, mas malala kasi tapos ka na mag-radiation and chemotherapy. Cannot be. When tumor markers are normalized, cannot also. Okay? So guys, the only correct answer is letter A. Next, number 15. Carcinogenesis is irreversible in which stage as explained to albedo? Progression stage, promotion stage, initiation stage, or regression stage? So guys, the only correct answer is progression stage. During that one, guys, nagkakaroon ka na ng increased tumor growth. Okay? So, ano yan, guys? Carcinogenesis natin, no? Pag sinabi mong carcinogenesis, when you say carcino, you mean cancer. When you say genesis, the birth or the beginning. Tama ba? The birth or the beginning. When you say Genesis in the Bible, it means the beginning of the things or the birth of new things. Tama ba yon? So, cancer birth, carcinogenesis, kailan hindi na natin matatanggal ang cancer risk niya? Kapag nasa progression stage na natin tayo, guys. So, wala tayong regression stage dyan. We just have initiation stage. So, initiation stage is the first exposure, guys, to the things that can cause cancer. The first exposure to your what? Carcinogens. So, na-mention na natin to kanina, mga carcinogens na kilala natin. You have your smoking, number 1. Tama ba yon? Smoking. Then, you also have number 2, guys, alcohol. And then, you also have 3, ang faulty diet mo. And then, you also have 4, ang UV ng araw. Okay? UV rays. Ayan. And many more. There are others pa, no? Asbestos, chemicals, pesticides, whatever. Ayun. So, basically, ito yung mga pinaka-big 4 natin. Guys, pag na-expose ka dito, first day of you smoking is the initiation stage. Alright? So, guys, promotion stage naman, when you have recurrent exposure. Ibig sabihin, hindi ka tumigil on the first time. Okay? Nag-smoke ka now, ngayon you are already a 50-year smoker. Klaro, o 20 year, 10 years, whatever. Basta nagkaroon ng recurrent, paulit-ulit na exposure sa carcinogens. That's the promotion stage. Ibig sabihin, gusto mo talaga magkaroon ng abnormalities on the cell growth, cell division, maging abnormal sila, at maging cancer cells. Klaro? Because remember, your cancer cells are a normal cell that has become abnormal. Klaro ba yun? Yes. And then, pagdating mo dyan, guys, isang ubo na lang from the promotion stage, recurrent exposure, until such time you will reach the time of your tumor growth. Yan, which is the progression stage. Okay? Kaka-expose mo sarili mo sa mga carcinogenics natin, nagkaroon ka ng abnormal cell. And that abnormal cell will continue to replicate kasi wala siyang disiplina at wala siyang restraint. Does not know when to stop and when to rest. At gagamitin niya lahat ng resources ng katawan mo. Klaro, di ba yun yung cancer as what we have defined it? It's a normal cell that has become abnormal and starts to grow rapidly without any discipline, without any restraint, and using all the resources of the body. Alright, so letter A, dyan nagiging irreversible pa. Basically, guys, when you say promotion stage and initiation stage, reversible pa ang carcinogenesis dyan. Klaro ba yun? Yes. So, for example, ikaw, kakastart mo lang mag-smoke. Do not proceed anymore. If you want to stop, that's the best time to stop. Okay? Ayun. So that you don't get the progression stage and get your lung cancer. So, ganon. Sa promotion and initiation stage, they are still reversible. Pagdating ng progression stage, dyan na siya nagiging irreversible. At wala tayong regression stage, guys, ha? Wala yang letter D. That's number 15. Alright, number 16. While assessing Miko, the nurse palpates for breast tumors. Where are tumors most commonly found? So, I want you to put a star on this question, guys. And don't forget it. Pag star, alam mo na anong meaning yan. That's a past board question. So, guys, upper inner quadrant, upper outer quadrant, lower inner quadrant, or lower outer quadrant. So basically, guys, if you have your breast here, ayan, sorry for the lack of drawing capacity. So guys, ihati mo yan siya into 4 quadrants. Okay? Ayan, 4 quadrants natin. And syempre ito, kilikili na to, axilla mo na yan, axilla. And this one is your axilla. So these are the quadrants of your breast. Upper outer quadrant, upper inner quadrant, lower outer quadrant, and then lower inner quadrant. The most common part of the breast na nagkakaroon ng breast cancer or growth, potential tumor to become a breast cancer, guys, is no other than letter B, the upper outer quadrant. Something dito, guys, the part of the breast tissue that is closest to the axilla. Okay? That one. Alright? Kaya kapag nag-BSE ka dyan mo talaga i-check. Okay? Pero guys, eto naman ang minimin yan. Hindi naman ibig sabihin na sa upper outer quadrant lang talaga nagkakaroon. Dyan lang prone na area. Pero pwede bang magkaroon dito? Yes. Dito? Yes. Dito? Yes. Pero saan siya pinaka-prone? Sa upper outer quadrant. Diyan na siya pinaka-prone. Klaro ba yun? Diyan lang talaga. So guys, diyan yung finofocusan din natin kapag nag-BSE tayo, no? Diyan talaga tayo kumakapa ng maayos. Kasi nga, diyan nga high risk nag-grow ang mga breast tumors natin, the upper outer quadrant. So the only correct answer is letter B. Bravo. Alright, number 17. Kokomi asked the most important cancer risk factor. What should the nurse discuss? Letter A, family history. Letter B, lifestyle choices. Letter C, age. Letter D, hormonal events. And the only correct answer is, na napag-usapan natin kanina, guys, the number 1 risk factor is your age. What kind of age? Young or old? Syempre, old age. Diba? Na-mention natin to. The older you are, the higher risk of error during your cell replication. And sabi nga natin, cancer cells are from a normal cell that becomes abnormal. And then they rapidly divide. Okay? Ayun, without any restraint and without any discipline using all the resources of the body. Klaro ba? Yes. So, an older age makes your normal cell more prone into creating mistakes and create an abnormal cell. Pag may abnormal cell ka na at siya naman ang nag-divide rapidly, yan ang cancer. Klaro pa yon? Yes, and what did I say about older age, guys? The older you are, the higher your exposure to your carcinogens. As what we mentioned, smoking, kung smoker ka, the older you are, the higher risk for lung cancer. For you, 50 years of smoking compared to someone na 5 years smoking pa lang. Klaro ba yon? Your cancer risk because of your age is higher. Klaro kasi 50 years older ka na nagsusmoke. Guys, alcoholism, the same thing. Compared to a teenager na kakastart lang mag-inom, compared to you na 50-year alcoholic. Okay? Exposure to low fiber diet, a younger person compared to you, an older adult, ayon, higher risk. So, ang pinaka number one risk factor natin is what? Age. Age. Older age, higher exposure, higher tendency for the cells to have a mistake when they are dividing. Alright, when they are replicating themselves. Family history is also a risk factor. Lifestyle choices, tulad ng nasabi ko guys, gusto mo ng mga preservatives, ng low fiber diet, ayon. So guys, that can also affect it. This is also a risk factor, but it's not the number one or the most important cancer risk factor. Claro? And the hormonal events. Same lang, older. The more exposure to hormones, meaning the older you are. Claro? Mas may edad ka, mas exposed ka to the hormones of males or females. Claro? Increasing the risk of cancers that are reliant on hormones. Ayan. So that's the only correct answer. Letter C, age. Alright. Number 18. Which group would benefit most? Would benefit most from melanoma risk education according to Tignari. So, melanoma risk education, ibig sabihin we're talking about melanoma cancer, skin cancer. Okay, skin cancer. Melanin of the skin. Oma, cancer. So, cancer of the skin. Skin cells. Melanin. Okay, letter A, adults older than 35. Elderly with repeated UV exposure. Or letter C, parents with children. Or letter D, chemical factory workers. So guys, I think I made this as an example on one of my test taking strategy videos. So if you want to watch the test taking strategy video I have for PNLE and NCLEX, I have it here on YouTube. You can watch it here. And the only correct answer is letter C. Parents with children. Tingnan mo guys, lahat sila matatanda. Yung isang choice lang ang may bata. Okay? And it's parents with children. Basically, yung natutunan niya, no, the most benefit makukuha ng children from the mother receiving the patient education from Tignari. So, si Tignari nagtuturo sa group ng people na mga parents, itong mga parents, i-apply nila ang natutunan nila saan? Sa children nila. Because their children, if we're talking about melanoma risk, they have the lowest exposure to what? Your UV rays. Okay, and UV rays, that's the one that has the higher risk of causing skin cancer. Tama ba yun, guys? Exposure to sun. Okay, the sun damages the DNA of the skin cells, and then the skin cells become abnormal, and then they grow rapidly and become cancer. Alright, so exposure to UV rays, children, they have the lowest exposure. Tinan mo, adults older than 35, malaki na ang exposure niyan sa araw. Elderly with repeated UV, sinabi na, okay? Repeated UV exposure, marami ng exposure, guys. Great exposure na to. Great exposure. Ito din, mataas na ang exposure to UV rays kasi older adult nga. Adults older than 35. Chemical factory workers, hindi man UV rays directed, may increased exposure na din. Tama ba? Kasi mga chemical factory workers, older people din yan. Okay? So, sino lang ang may younger people dito, guys? Ito, children. So, that's the only correct answer. Letter C, Charlie. Very good. Number 19. A 17-year-old sexually active client like Lumin asks about pap smears. Which guideline is correct? Do you perform it letter A, every other year, or letter B, every 3 years after 4 negatives, or letter C, start at the age of 21 or earlier if sexually active, or letter D, colposcopy after 4 negatives? And the only correct answer, guys, is letter C. Start at the age of 21. Okay? Yan. Or kapag sexually active ka, edi earlier. Klaro? Guys, bakit? Ano sabi dito? 17 years old siya, sexually active. Kailan daw siya magpa-pap smear? Guys, kung 17 years old siya tapos sexually active siya, pwede ba tayo gumamit ng baseline at kumuha na ng pap smear during that age? Okay? With consent to the mother kasi underage. Okay? So, 17, 18, pwede na yan. Check tayo ng baseline ng pap smear natin. Bakit, guys? Cervical cancer. Yan ba ang chine-check natin when we're doing pap smear? Yes. And note this, cervical cancer, ano ang highest risk niyan, guys? Kapag meron kang oncovirus. That's your HPV, diba? That's your human papilloma virus. And where do you get your human papilloma virus? Ano yan guys? Sinabi ko kanina, it's an oncovirus. Ibig sabihin, it's a virus that has the propensity to cause oncology or cancer. Okay? So marami tayo niyan guys. Isa na to, si HPV, human papilloma virus. A virus that can cause cancer. What kind of cancer? Cervical cancer. So saan mo nakukuha yan? HPV. Syempre, by being sexually active. You pass that on from one person to another via sex. Klaro ba yun? Yes, sometimes skin-to-skin contact, pero pinaka-effective, sex. Kaya sabi natin, kapag sexually active siya, you can do that earlier than 21 years old. If hindi siya sexually active, we can get the baseline at 21 years old. Okay? So, for the purpose of this discussion, guys, sa book na to, ang answer is age 21. Alright? But for now, guys, 2026 or 2025, no, baka meron na tayong bagong metric for this from American Cancer Society. Guys, every other year, we don't do pap smear every other year unless otherwise meron kang risk factor. For example, you are sexually active. So, pwede tayong kumuha ng pap smear every now and then. And then guys, every 3 years after 4 negatives. So, depende na yan sa healthcare provider mo. Kapag 4 negatives guys, edi hindi na natin yan i-check unless otherwise nagkaroon ka ng simptomas relevant to cervical cancer or naging sexually active ka ulit. Okay? Doon tayo kukuha ulit. Klaro ba? Pero pag 4 negatives guys, edi hindi na tayo uulit muna niyan. Klaro? Kasi hindi kailangan. Alright, and then colposcopy guys, ibig sabihin ng colposcopy, we will look at your cervix, direct visualization of the cervix via colposcopy after 4 negatives. Kung 4 negatives na, bakit pa tayo magko-colposcopy? There is no indication for that. So, dapat ang gagawin natin guys, no? Dapat meron tayong baseline. So, pag sa baseline natin suggests high risk for cervical cancer, then we will do colposcopy so that we can get further samples or further look at the cervix. Klaro ba yun? But if it's 4 negatives, we don't need to do colposcopy. So the only correct answer is letter C. Alright, letter C, Charlie. Number 20. Shinqui is taught that a high-fat diet increases risk for which cancer? Letter A, ovarian. Letter B, lung. Letter C, colon. Letter D, liver. And the only correct answer is what? Colon cancer. Colon cancer. Anong klaseng diet yan, guys? Low fiber and high fat diet. That's the one that increases your risk of what? Colon cancer. Klaro ba yun? Yes, it's not ovarian, it's not lung, and definitely not liver cancer. And what else, guys? What kind of cancer from high-fat diet, guys? You can also have the risk of a breast cancer and even prostate cancer. Pero ang pinaka number 1 talaga, guys, is no other than colon. Siya talaga ang number 1 consideration natin if you're talking about high-fat diet and low fiber. Lalo na pag pinarasan mo ng low fiber. But high-fat diet in and of itself increases the risk of number 1, first and foremost, colon cancer. Can it also increase the risk of breast cancer? Yes. Pwede bang prostate cancer? Yes. Pero pag tinanong ka, which among the following high-fat diet, sabihin natin letter A is breast, letter B is prostate, and letter C is colon, the only correct answer is colon. Siya talaga ang number 1 from a high-fat diet. Alright, number 21. Cancer risk increases when smoking is combined with which, as explained to Ito? Letter A, asbestos exposure. Letter B, alcohol consumption. Letter C, UV radiation. Or letter D, HPV infection. Guys, ang partners in crime pag oncology nursing ang kausap is no other than smoking combined with letter B, alcohol consumption. So guys, tandaan mo lang to ha, alcohol plus smoking creates the most dangerous risk factor for cancer development. We have this what we call a synergistic effect kapag pinag-combine mo yan sila. Pag sinabi mong synergistic effect, guys, you have the greater, okay? 10 times, grabe naman 10 times, over naman. Basta they have the greater risk of developing a cancer pag pinag-combine mo ang smoking tsaka alcoholism. Guys, smoking in and of itself, high risk na yan for cancer kasi carcinogenic yan. Alcohol din on the other hand is also carcinogenic. May high risk for cancer ka na. Pag pinag-combine mo yung dalawa niyan, guys, twice the greater risk of you getting cancer. Bakit? Meron silang tinatawag na synergistic effect. Ibig sabihin, they complement each other to create a more risk factor for cancer for you. Especially for you. Klaro ba yon? Lalo na kapag smoker ka, tapos alcoholic ka pa. Klaro ba? So guys, no? Parang ano talaga, usual setup sa inuman. Iinom ka ng alak kasama ng kaibigan mo, tapos nagyoyosi ka kasi mas masarap magyosi kapag lasing. Klaro ba? Yes, alright. So not that I do that, I just heard that from my friends. They say it feels good when they smoke and they drink alcohol together. Alright, so yan guys, no? There is a synergistic effect for that. So that's the only correct answer. Asbestos exposure, guys, is also a carcinogenic. Okay, asbestos can cause problems in the lungs, okay? It can have also the risk of developing lung cancer, but not as much as smoking. Pero carcinogenic din ang asbestos. Guys, UV radiation is carcinogenic din yan, and as well as your HPV. Ano sabi natin sa HPV? Since it's a virus, human papilloma virus, it's an oncovirus. Pag sinabi natin oncovirus, it's a viral infection that has a risk of causing cancer. Klaro ba? So like this one, HPV causes what? Cervical cancer. What else? Guys, hepatitis can cause liver cancer. What else? Epstein-Barr virus or from a mononucleosis disease. Okay, yung kissing disease natin, mononucleosis from Epstein-Barr virus. That one can also cause lymph cancer, lymphoma. Okay? So, mga ganon. Alright, so that's number 21. Number 22. Why is meperidine or Demerol not recommended for chronic cancer pain in Kiki? Letter A, high abuse potential. Letter B, agonist-antagonist effect. Letter C, must be given IM. Or letter D, causes seizures due to metabolite. And the only correct answer is, don't forget this. You can use this on all MedSage concept that asks you about meperidine or Demerol, guys. And the only correct answer is letter Delta. Causes seizures due to metabolite. That's the only correct answer. Guys, listen to this. Meperidine or Demerol, that is an opioid or a narcotic. Narcotic yan siya. Opioid or narcotic. Analgesic. Ibig sabihin, you give that for pain kasi it can remove the pain like an opioid. Like a narcotic. So, ano pa yung kilala natin na narcotic sa nursing? Morphine sulfate. So, parang ganun din si meperidine. But the point is, we don't really prefer meperidine, guys, or physicians do not prefer meperidine compared to other opioid analgesic for pain because it can cause seizure. Ibig sabihin, meron siyang high risk for a seizure activity. Bakit? Kasi may metabolite siya. When you say metabolite, guys, ito yung what is left after the body metabolizes or uses up the medication. Guys, when the body breaks down meperidine, nagkakaroon tayo ng metabolite na tinatawag natin na normeperidine. Normeperidine. And guys, contrary to meperidine, when you break down meperidine, you get normeperidine. This is a central nervous system stimulant. It's a CNS stimulant. So if it is too much in your body, it increases the risk of what? Seizure. Because of what? The metabolite normeperidine. It's a CNS stimulant. It can stimulate the central nervous system, your brain. So pag nasobrahan sa stimulation ng brain mo, guys, anong bagsak mo? Seizure. Okay? Magko-convulsion ka. Klaro? Kaya guys, may high risk for seizure yan. Okay? Lalo na sa mga pediatric clients natin. Pero pwede din ba sa adult? Yes, pwede din. May high risk for seizures din yan. So, we don't really prefer that, no? If we want pain medication for our clients with cancer, lalo na sa mga terminal stages ng cancer nila, guys, where pain is the number one priority, guys, we prefer morphine sulfate. At least for our books, no? Morphine sulfate. Ayan. Meperidine is a big no-no because of the metabolite normeperidine, a CNS stimulant that causes what? High risk for seizure. So that's the only correct answer. High abuse potential, lahat naman ng opioid or narcotic may risk para dyan. But that's not our priority in this case kasi binibigay natin yan siya for pain. The higher risk is what? The seizure risk. Guys, agonist-antagonist effect? Definitely not. Because this one is from the metabolite normeperidine. Must be given IM, no? Okay, depende sa order ng doctor kung paano ibigay. So, usually we give that intravenously. Alright, number 23. A 58-year-old client, like Thoma, asks how chemotherapy works. Which explanation is most accurate? Letter A affects rapidly dividing cells. Letter D alters DNA structure. Letter C, cancer cells are toxin sensitive. Or letter D, encourages cell division. And the only correct answer is letter A, affects rapidly dividing cells. Guys, marami tayong klase ng chemotherapy agents, diba? Alkylating agents, meron tayong anti-tumor antibiotics, meron din tayong mitotic inhibitors, and meron din tayong mga anti-metabolites. The point of the matter is, pag titignan mo tong apat na chemotherapeutic drugs mo guys, isa lang ang same sa kanila. Magkakapareho sila lahat sa function na to, and they affect rapidly dividing cells. Ibig sabihin, sa loob ng katawan natin, lahat ng mga cells dyan na sobrang bilis mag-divide, they affect them and they kill them. They stop them from rapidly dividing. So guys, 'di ba? Tulad nung na-mention ko kanina pa ng paulit-ulit, your cancer cell is a normal cell na naging cancer cell at nawalan ng disiplina, nawalan ng restraint. Kaya nag-grow ng sobrang dami, nagre-replicate ng sobrang dami until they become tumors. Tama ba? Until they metastasize from one spot to another. Guys, rapidly dividing cells ba talaga ang mga cancers natin? Yes. Kaya itong mga cancer agents natin, mga chemotherapeutic drugs, they affect rapidly dividing cells. Okay? Tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, di ba? You have your chemotherapy, one of the treatments of cancer. Number 1, surgery, tapos radiation, tapos third, chemotherapy, tulad ng discussion natin kanina. It can affect rapidly dividing cells that are abnormal, like your what? Cancer cells. Tama ba yon? And guys, can it also affect normal cells na rapidly dividing? Yes. And the effect na yan, guys, is it a general effect? Ibig sabihin, from head to toe, buong katawan? Yes, kasi binibigay natin ng chemotherapy intravenous ba? Ibig sabihin, it gets circulated in the entire body of the patient. Yes. And it affects rapidly dividing cell, including your abnormal cancer cells plus your normal cells. Claro? Yes. Kaya guys, letter A is the only correct answer. Okay? So it affects abnormal cancer cells. It stops the cancer cells from growing or rapidly dividing. Okay? It's the one that tells the cancer cells to stop replicating, stop producing a lot of cancer cells, stop growing a tumor. Klaro ba yun? When you give your or your chemotherapeutic drugs. And the same thing, guys, it also affects normal cells that are rapidly dividing. So, guys, bigyan kita ng example, ha? Yung mga cells sa katawan natin na mabilis mag-divide, mabilis mag-create ng new cells or new layers. Number 1, ang balat natin. Our skin. Okay? Rapidly dividing cells to, guys. Number 2, ang dugo natin. Blood cells natin. Lagi tayong nagre-replenish ng mga blood cells. Tama ba yon? Meron lang short lifespan ng mga blood cells natin tapos kailangan lang silang palitan. So, rapidly dividing cells yan. Number 3, ang hair follicles natin. Kaya nag-grow lagi ang hair natin. Klaro ba yon? Yes. And guys, yung mga naglaline sa mucosa natin, our mouth and tongue, our GI, okay, including our esophagus to the stomach. Okay, ayan. So guys, those are rapidly dividing cells as well, and they are also affected by chemotherapy. Kasi nga, they are rapidly dividing cells. Yun, no? That's the, yun lang, double-edged sword din ang chemotherapy natin. Just like what I mentioned with your radiation, it affects abnormal and normal cells. So the only correct answer is letter A for number 23. Alters the DNA structure? No. It stops rapidly dividing cells from replicating. Yun yung point. Cancer cells are toxin sensitive? No. Okay? Ang tinatanong kung ano ang effect ng chemotherapy. And they stop rapidly dividing cell. It's not that the cancer cells are toxin, that's why they die from chemotherapy. No. The function of chemotherapy, yun pinag-usapan. Encourages cell division? No. It stops rapidly dividing cells. So, the total opposite of delta. So, the only correct answer is letter A, alpha. Number 24. Jean is receiving radiation to the axilla, so sa kilikili, guys. Which teaching should the nurse include? Letter A, use heating pad. Letter B, immobilize the arm. Letter C, apply ice after treatment. Or letter D, use deodorant only on the other side. And the only correct answer for number 24 is letter delta. Use deodorant only on the other side. So guys, axilla, sa kilikili siya. So, kung sa left axilla, huwag kang mag-deodorant sa left axilla. Kung sa right axilla or right kepet, edi huwag ka man mag-deodorant doon. Guys, eto guys, sa previous studies kasi, they have found out na may potential maka-affect sa radiation yung deodorant natin. Kasi yung deodorant natin contains metals to stop the kilikili from perspiring. Okay, ganon yun dati in those old studies. Pero now, in new literature, iba na ang usapan. So, for the purpose of this discussion, number 24 is from a book that bases it from old studies. Ganon pa yon. So, guys, ang atin na alam natin sa nursing is that we avoid using deodorant on the side used for the radiation kasi nga it can affect the radiation. Klaro? Kasi may metals ang mga deodorants natin, mga antiperspirants. Kaya gagamit ka lang ng deodorant sa other side kung saan hindi ka magra-radiation. Doon lang muna pwede. Klaro ba yun? Ganon. So, heating pad cannot be kasi after radiation, sensitive pa ang balat dyan. Pwedeng magkaroon ng irritation from the heating pad after radiation. So, hindi pwede. Immobilize the arm? Hindi. Dapat minomobilize mo yun siya after. Okay? Para hindi magkaroon ng problema on that area. Okay lang ang passive range of motion in that area. No problem. Pero syempre, during guys, pag magra-radiation ka during, huwag mo munang galawin para makafocus doon yung beam ng radiation natin. Guys, apply ice after treatment is also not indicated. So, the only correct answer here is letter D. Yan lang, okay? Kasi nga, meron tayong metals sa deodorants natin that can affect or alter the effects of your what? Radiation therapy. That's number 24. All right, number 25. Rosaria is receiving chest radiation reports, pain on swallowing, and chest tightness. The nurse should assess for letter A, hiatal hernia, letter B, stomatitis, letter C, radiation enteritis, or letter D, esophagitis. So guys, ano daw? Nag-chest radiation siya. So, ibig sabihin sa chest, diretso yung radiation therapy ng pasyente mo. Nagkaroon siya ngayon ng pain in swallowing, masakit na lumunok, tsaka chest tightness. So, sa area din kung saan natatama ang radiation, nagkakaroon ng problems ang pasyente mo. Ano ang i-assess ng nurse? So, guys, walang ibang tamang sagot dito kundi letter D, esophagitis. Okay? So, guys, this is your esophagus. Drawing muna lang tayo saglit. So, if, for example, guys, this is your esophagus and then this is your chest. Ayan. Okay? So, sabi, dito yung heart mo, ayan, and then your lungs. So, dito ka daw nagkaroon ng radiation, chest radiation. So, this is the part that is affected by the radiation. Tapos, ang complaint ng pasyente mo, meron kang pain on swallowing, masakit lumunok, and as well as chest tightness. So, areas ba na affected din ng radiation yung complaint ng pasyente mo? Yes. Anong pinakamalapit na dyan, na structure? Esophagus. So, yung esophagus mo, guys, nagkaroon ng inflammation. From what? Secondary to the radiation effect. Remember when I said, guys, no? Tulad nung diniscuss ko kanina, 3 ang treatment ng cancer. Meron kang surgery, pantanggal ng tumor. Merong radiation, merong chemotherapy. So, pag sinabi natin radiation, it can affect both abnormal, rapidly dividing cells, papatayin niya lahat ng rapidly dividing cells or ititigil niya ang pag-divide ng rapidly dividing cells, killing it through radiation. And affected niya din ang mga normal cells. Tama ba? Abnormal and normal cells. Double-edged sword. But the point is, pag radiation, it's just localized. Ibig sabihin, kung saan mo lang siya tinama, yun lang yung affected na mga cells. Compared to chemotherapy na generalized, head to foot affected kasi intravenous via ugat mo binibigay. So, nasisirculate sa buong katawan. Gas niya ba yung minimin ko? So, ito guys, anong affected? This area lang din. So, anong titingnan mo? Ang esophagus and ang chest. So, guys, esophagitis ang nangyari sa kanya. Tulad nung sinabi ko kanina, di ba? Ang GI lining natin from the esophagus to the stomach to the intestines, may mucosa yan. And the mucosa in that area is also rapidly dividing cell. Anong affected sa radiation? Rapidly dividing cell. That includes abnormal and normal cells. Klaro ba yun? Yun yung double-edged sword din ni radiation. Meron siyang 2 effect. Klaro? The good one and the bad one. It affects cancer cells good, it kills the cancer cells, but bad one kasi it also affects rapidly dividing cells like the cells of your mouth. Pag sa mouth ka nagkaroon ng radiation, like the cells of your esophagus and your GI, kapag dyan ka malapit nagkaroon ng radiation, hence this one, chest radiation. So, ano nangyari sa kanya? Esophagitis. So, definitely not enteritis, guys. When you say enteritis, affected na ang intestines natin. So, hindi naman intestine ang affected dito. Tama ba? Stomatitis, mouth. Hindi naman malapit sa mouth. Kasi sabi, difficulty swallowing and chest tightness. Yun yung symptoms. So, something near the chest and the swallowing. Esophagus. Klaro ba? And hiatal hernia, guys, this is an anatomical problem. So, problem sa structure yan, di ba? Pag sinabi mong hiatal hernia, ang nagkaroon dyan is nagkaroon ka ng weakness. Weakness in your diaphragm. Diaphragm. Kaya nagkaroon na yung, wrong spelling pa talaga ako. MG, ayan. Nagkaroon ng yung stomach mo lumalampas sa diaphragm, nakaka-penetrate sa diaphragm mo kasi nagkakaroon ng weakness sa muscle ng diaphragm. That's your hiatal hernia. But that's not a radiation problem, but rather an anatomical problem. Okay? Might sound like it's hiatal hernia because of the symptoms, pain on swallowing and chest tightness, okay? But that one is esophagitis. The only correct answer is delta. All right, number 26. Catching is experiencing chemotherapy-induced alopecia. Which statement best explains this? Letter A, hair will grow gray. Letter B, hair loss is temporary. Letter C, hair returns same texture and color. Or letter D, avoid wigs. Syempre guys, pag nagkaroon ka ng alopecia, pagtanggal ng hair mo because of what? Chemotherapy-induced. Okay, because of chemotherapy. The only correct answer is letter B, temporary lang ang hair loss mo. Remember when I said, di ba? Pag sinabing chemotherapy, guys, one of the treatments of cancer ba yan? Yes, di ba meron siyang effect, double-edged sword siya, may good and may bad effect. Good effect ng chemotherapy, lahat ng rapidly dividing cells, ititigil niya sa pagdi-divide para hindi mag-grow ang cancer cells mo. Kasi when we say cancer cells, they are rapidly dividing cells. Walang disiplina, they will just divide and divide and divide without stopping until they create tumors and they grow and they move on one side to another. Klaro ba yun? Yes. The bad effect naman, guys, is that lahat din ng rapidly dividing cells sa katawan mo na normal, like your skin, your mucosa, your hair follicles, okay, affected. Kaya ano nangyayari sa kanya? Nagkakaroon siya ng alopecia. Guys, pansin mo, mga nagkikimotherapy, nakakalbo talaga sila or gumagamit ng wig. Kasi yung mga hair follicles natin, guys, the reason why our hair does not stop growing is because our hair follicles are rapidly dividing cells. It grows faster than other cells. Klaro ba? So, pag na-detect ng chemotherapy mo yan, uy, rapidly dividing cell din pala to, patayin din natin, baka cancer. Klaro ba? Yes, alright. So, general effect ng chemotherapy natin kasi we insert it sa ugat. Tama ba? So, lahat ng rapidly dividing cell from head to foot affected din ba? Kahit normal cell sila. Yes, including your hair follicles, including your mucosa of the GI, including your tongue or your mouth, causing stomatitis. Okay, including your skin. Okay, kaya nagkakaroon ng mga irritation dyan sa skin. Alright, letter B. Pero temporary lang yan. Manunumbalag din ulit ang buhok niya after niya mag-chemotherapy. Pag wala nang pumapatay sa rapidly dividing cells niya. Pero guys, the growth will not be the same in texture and color. Okay? Mapapansin natin yung hair natin magiging medyo mas manipis na compared to the usual after chemotherapy. Tapos iba na ang texture niya. Klaro ba yun? Yes, ganun ang mangyayari. The hair will not grow gray or you will not have to avoid wigs. In fact, we encourage no testing of wigs and choosing a wig that suits you or the one that you like. Okay? Pag ayaw mo mag-wig, okay lang din. Kung gusto mo mag-wig, okay lang din. Okay? We promote that. Alright? Ayun. So, you don't avoid wigs. We want you to use that if you want to use that. Okay? If you prefer not to, okay lang din. Number 27. Zhongli with terminal bone cancer, so bone cancer, is receiving hospice care, guys, and reports pain. 10 out of 10, the highest rating. The nurse notes respirations of 10 breaths per minute. What is the priority nursing action? Letter A, notify the healthcare provider of the decreased respiratory rate. Letter B, withhold the next dose of opioid analgesic. Letter C, administer the prescribed opioid analgesic. Or letter D, administer naloxone to reverse respiratory depression. Sige nga, tingnan natin kung magaling to sa palliative care. And the only correct answer is letter C. C. Administer the prescribed opioid analgesic is the only correct answer. Guys, tignan mo, ang pasyente mo, terminal bone cancer na ba? Yes. Ibig sabihin, guys, palliative na lang ba ang ginagawa natin dito? When you say palliative, comfort na lang ba ang priority natin? Comfort. Ibig sabihin, the patient should be pain-free. Hindi siya nasasaktan sa last days niya. Terminal na yan. Ibig sabihin, forever na hindi na matatanggalin, guys. Wala nang pag-asa. Hopeless case na. So, we're just caring for the patient's symptomatology management na lang. Ibig sabihin, kung ano yung symptoms, ima-manage natin para komportable siya. Di ba yun yung bottom line? Pag sinabi natin, terminal na, palliative ang gagawin natin. Kaya nga sinabi natin, receiving hospice care. So, hospice care is a special kind of care na binibigay natin sa mga pasyente na sobrang lapit ng mamatay. Sobrang lapit na nila sa death nila, guys. So, just like this one, terminal bone cancer. And tingnan mo, ang report niya ng pain, 10 out of 10. Ang pinakamasakit sa lahat ng masakit. Guys, verbal pain report ng pasyente, yun ang pinapaniwalaan ng nurse. Okay? Pag sinabi niyang 10 out of 10, yung management natin dapat is for 10 out of 10. And what's the management for 10 out of 10? Opioids, analgesic. Yan ang binibigay natin. The strongest to remove the pain. Kasi ano ang priority natin dito sa terminal bone cancer? Palliative care. Kailangan ng pasyente, comfortable. Pag sinabi mong comfortable, walang pain na nararamdaman. Kung meron man, mabawasan natin gamit ang mga gamot na meron tayo. Pero ma'am, sabi mo, meron na siyang 10 breaths per minute, 'di ba? Sabi natin kapag nag-opioid analgesics tayo, like morphine sulfate, we have to check for respiratory depression kasi yun yung adverse effect. Guys, for this one, kapag terminal, kapag palliative care ng pasyente natin, we do not care about the medical effect anymore. What we care about is the comfort of the patient. Talaga ma'am, comfort na lang? Yes. The one that makes the patient the most comfortable is what we give. Remember, terminal na siya guys. 'Di ba? Hospice care na siya. Ibig sabihin, inevitable death na talaga ang meron sa kanya. What we want is to promote comfort on the last days of the patient. Even when that comfort leads to the mas mapabilis yung death niya, hindi na yun ang case natin. Ang priority natin is to give comfort. Klaro ba yun? Guys, ganito yan ha. Same lang yan. There was this past board question that I remember na meron pasyente on terminal care na because of a terminal disease. So, nasa palliative care siya. Tapos, known diabetic din siya, guys. Tapos, nag-request siya sa'yo ng cake. Bibigyan mo ba ng cake or hindi? Ang answer, bigyan mo. Kasi nga, nasa terminal na siya. Nasa palliative care na siya. Pag nandun sa palliative, ang priority mo na lang, comfort. Ang priority mo, happiness ng pasyente. Kung saan siya sasaya, kung saan siya komportable. So, dito, kung 10 out of 10 ang pain niya, manage the pain, give the pain medication so that the patient is comfortable. Okay? Have I said that clear enough? Klaro ba? Yes. Ma'am, 10 breaths per minute, wala na tayong pake dyan. What we want is to make the patient comfortable. Pag mas bumaba pa yan sa 10, guys, it does not matter. What we want is to make the patient comfortable. Klaro ba yon? Yes. Ganun na ang policy pagdating sa terminal or palliative care for patient or hospice care. Klaro ba? Yes. Okay? You don't withhold just because of the 10 breaths per minute. You give. Bakit? 10 out of 10 ang pain niya. At hindi siya nagiging comfortable because of that. What's our priority? Comfort. Have I said that clear enough? Yes. Notify the healthcare provider. You have to notify. But guys, you have to give the pain medication. Notify the doctor just by informing, Doc, 10 out of 10 ang pain at 10 breaths per minute ang pasyente, I gave the dose. Okay? Kasi nga palliative care na tayo dito. Alright. Administer naloxone, you don't give that without any doctor's orders. Klaro? You don't do that. Ang kailangan mong ibigay dito is prioritize mo ang comfort. Diba? Number 1 priority natin is no other than comfort. So, the only correct answer is letter C. Alright, number 28. Baiju is receiving chemotherapy for leukemia and has a neutrophil count of 400 mm3. Okay, I don't know how to pronounce mm3. I'm sorry. Cubic millimeters. Okay. Which intervention should be included in the plan of care? Letter A, provide a fresh fruit basket for snacks. Letter B, instruct the patient to use a cold bristle toothbrush. Or letter C, place the client with another infectious client. Or letter D, encourage walking the hospital hallways. So guys, dapat pag mababa ng neutrophils niya, less than na yan, 400 cubic millimeters na lang, millimeters. So, guys, risk for infection. Dapat nyo ka neutropenic precaution. And the only correct answer is letter B. Yan lang ang pinakatama dyan. You instruct the client to use a soft bristled toothbrush. Bakit? Guys, kapag nag-bleed, kasi gumamit siya ng hard bristled toothbrush, pwede bang magkaroon ng infection at pumasok yung infection sa dugo na yon, sa tissue na nag-bleed na yon? Yes, and can cause infection. Yes. Alright? Yun yung may high risk for infection dito. Kahit na at first look, that choice looks like it's for bleeding precaution, but once the tissue bleeds, meron kang opportunity for the bacteria or microbiota to enter and cause an infection. At hindi pwede yon kapag mababa ang neutrophil counts. Kailangan nakano siya guys? Neutropenic precaution. So when you say neutropenic precaution to prevent infection, can we give fresh fruit baskets for snacks? No. Okay? Hindi pwede ang fresh fruit basket. Okay? Anong pwede guys? Pwede ang fruit basta dapat washed and cut or peeled. Yan. Pag peeled na, wala na yung skin niya na madumi from the outside world na maraming bacteria na dara, pwede na. Kapag washed yan, kapag peeled and cut, ibigay sa patient, pwede. Pero kapag fresh fruit, cannot be. Place the client with another non-infectious client? No, dapat siya naka-reverse isolation. Reverse isolation. So, pag sinabi mong reverse isolation, guys, mag-isa lang sa room kasi from the word reverse with the letter R, the patient can receive infection. Kasi anong meron sa kanya, guys? Mababa na ang neutrophil counts niya. Okay? High risk for infection siya. So, reverse isolation, walang kasama sa room. Mag-isa lang siya. Okay? Isolated, reversed isolation. Encourage walking in the hallways, mas lalo guys. Naka-reverse isolation nga at naka-neutropenic precaution cannot be. Kasi pag nagkakatsa sa hallway guys, tapos merong mga naka-aerosolize na mga bacteria dyan or viruses at nalanghap niya yun, di magkakaroon siya ng infection. So, dapat nasa bed lang siya, nasa loob ng room, okay, na naka-reverse isolation. So, the only correct answer is Charlie. Sorry, bravo. Instruct the client to use a soft bristled toothbrush. 29, second to the last. The nurse is caring for Lisa with a temporary radioactive cervical implant or your brachytherapy. Which nursing action is most appropriate? Stay in the room for at least 30 minutes for support. Or letter B, encourage young grandchildren to visit briefly. Or letter C, wear a lead apron during bedside care. Or letter D, place the client in a semi-private room. And the only correct answer is letter C. Guys, as nurses na nasa oncology department, dapat we learn how to protect ourselves. We use a lead apron. Yung lead apron, guys, nakahangin siya sa body natin to protect us from the radiation that will be emitted by the radiation therapy. So, in this case, it's a temporary radiation cervical implant. So, para hindi tayo matamaan at maapektuhan ng radiation, guys, kasi nga it affects both abnormal and normal cells, basta they are rapidly dividing cells, pati tayo may rapidly dividing cells. So, to protect ourselves from the radiation, we use our lead apron. Remember, lead can deflect the radiation. It will not penetrate it. So, pag nakasuot ka ng lead apron, hindi ka mapapenetrate niyan. And remember, guys, kung nasa ng radiation, dapat doon ka nakaharap. Kasi yung likod mo exposed yan. Klaro ba? Expose ang likod mo, yung harap ng covered. So, kung nasa naman yung radiation, dapat you continuously face there to protect yourself. So, you wear your lead apron during bedside care. And guys, max of 30 minutes. Minutes lang yan per 8-hour shift. Yan lang yung pwede mong makuha na exposure from a patient with radiation. And make sure you use your what? Dosimeter badge. And remember, your dosimeter badge, it's individualized. Individualized. Ibig sabihin guys, isa-isa kayo sa hospital, meron yan. Hindi mo pwedeng pahiramin sa iba yung sayo kasi yan yung recorded degree of exposure mo towards radiation at hindi mo rin pwede hiramin yung sa iba. May isa-isa kayong dosimeter badge and yun yung ginagamit nyo for your duty. Klaro ba? 30 minutes exposure ka lang. Klaro ba? Yes, that makes letter A wrong. Sabi dito, stay in the room for at least 30 minutes for support. Di kung nagstay ka ng 30 minutes na yun doon para lang supportahan siya, hindi ka na makakabalik mamaya kung in case of emergency kailangan ka ng pasyente mo or kung kailangan mo siyang i-check. Klaro ba? For this one guys, we follow the rule of ALARA. So, kung narinig nyo itong ALARA, guys, it means as low as reasonably achievable. As low as reasonably achievable, you get exposed to a patient with radiation. Klaro? Kung kaya mong less than 30 minutes in an 8-hour shift, the better. Kasi ano ang rule natin, guys? ALARA. When you say ALARA, as low as reasonably achievable. Okay? Ayun. So guys, bawal ka magstay at least 30 minutes para supportan siya. Okay? 30 minutes na ang maximum. Encourage young grandchildren to visit, bawal. Bawal ang less than 18 years old, bawal ang pregnant, at bawal ang trying to conceive. Ibig sabihin, gusto mo mabuntis, bawal ka din mag-visit. Klaro ba yun? So, pregnant na visitor, pregnant na nurse, pregnant na doktor, bawal. Trying to conceive na visitor, trying to conceive na nurse, trying to conceive the doctor, bawal. Okay? Kasi all of those will be affected by the radiation from the patient. Place the client in a semi-private room? No. Nilalagay talaga natin yan sila sa private room kung saan nag-radiate tayo ng mga pasyente. So, it's a radiation room that is a private room, one person at a time. Alright, so that's number 29. And last number. Number 13. Diluc with small cell lung cancer reports new facial edema, neck vein distension, and dyspnea. Which condition should the nurse suspect? So parang nasegue na natin kanina guys. Is that your tumor lysis syndrome, or your superior vena cava syndrome, or your spinal cord compression, or your syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone? And the only correct answer is what? Letter B, superior vena cava syndrome. Remember guys, the SVC from your heart, you have the SVC, the one that receives blood from the head or the upper extremity going back to the right atrium. And you also have the inferior vena cava, the one that receives blood from the lower extremity and lower organ going back to the right atrium. So pag meron kang growing tumor, the tumor here, especially lung cancer or lymphoma, tulad na na-mention natin kanina, if it compresses the superior vena cava because it grows so big, masyado na siyang malaki. Pag na-compress ang superior vena cava, ang nangyayari, the blood can no longer flow to the superior vena cava, naiipon sa upper extremity. Unang namamaga, periorbital edema. Anong sabi dyan? Facial na. So from the eyes, namaga, to the face, namaga, nagkaroon ng neck vein distension. All of these are symptoms of what? A blood na hindi nakakapasok sa loob ng heart kasi may nag-o-obstruct sa kanya dyan. Merong tumor sa loob. Klaro ba yon? Yes, so that's your superior vena cava syndrome. And then guys, itong tumor lysis syndrome, spinal cord compression, and SIAD, they are also all oncological emergencies. Mga oncological emergencies din yan sila guys. So isa-isay natin sila ha para familiar ka na sa kanila. Emergencies. Ayan. So when you say tumor lysis syndrome, just remember, tumor cells mo na lysis, na dissolve, okay, or na breakdown. Okay? Remember, your tumor cells, they are just the normal cells that has become abnormal at nag-grow ng sobrang dami at walang disiplina. Tama ba? Yun yung paulit-ulit ko na sinasabi. So, tumor lysis syndrome, guys, ang makikita mo na symptoms dito is your hyperkalemia. Yan talaga. Hyperkalemia. Kasi inside the cells, there is potassium. When the cells die in tumor lysis syndrome, kahit na cancer cells yan, pag namatay, ilalabas niya lahat ng laman niya sa loob. And that includes your potassium. So you have hyperkalemia and as well as hyperuricemia, uric acid. So dadami din ang uric acid mo. So hyperuricemia. So yung dalawang simptomas na yan, hyperkalemia and hyperuricemia. Yan yung nakikita natin sa tumor lysis syndrome. It's the tumor cells releasing its laman, okay, or components out in the bloodstream once they die because of chemotherapy or because of radiation. Klaro ba? Yes. Spinal cord compression naman, guys, eto naman, kapag nagkaroon ka ng tumor na iniipit ang spinal cord mo. Tumor and then it grows to the spinal cord. Naiipit ang spinal cord mo tapos nagkakaroon ka na ng neuro signs and symptoms. So, nagkakaroon ka ng weakness in the lower extremity or any weakness of the body, nagkakaroon ng paresthesia, basta neurologic deficits. That's your spinal cord compression. Galing sa tumor na nakakaipit na sa spinal cord, causing spinal cord injury. Klaro ba yon? Yes, that's your spinal cord compression. And then, syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone, guys. Remember this. Meron tayong mga tumor cells sa katawan na nagsisecrete, nagsisecrete sila ng mga substance. Tapos ang substance ito guys, kaya niyang gayahin ang ADH or ang antidiuretic hormone mo. Klaro ba yon? Yes. So guys, si tumor from the cancer cells, when they start secreting that in the blood, nagkakaroon ng parang antidiuretic hormone effect. Ibig sabihin, it can mimic. Pag sinabi mong mimic, kaya niyang gayahin ang effect ng antidiuretic hormone. So, alam mo yan guys, pag sobrang daming antidiuretic hormone, from the word itself, antidiuretic hormone, bawal ihi hormone, sobrang dami, anong effect niyan sa katawan mo? You will have SIAD. When you say SIAD, syndrome of inappropriate antidiuretic hormone. So, nagkakaroon ka ng sobrang konting urine, di ba? You will have few urine. Okay? Kasi sobrang daming bawal ihi hormone. So, hindi ka masyado nakakaihi. So, that's your what? SIAD. Tingnan mo lang ang anong simptomas pag meron kang kokonti na ihi. So, pag sinabi, the patient undergoing radiation suddenly develops scant urine output or very few urine output. Ano nangyari sa kanya? SIAD yun. Klaro ba yun? Yes. Pero pag sinabing, the patient has periorbital edema and facial edema, that's your what? Your SVC, your superior vena cava syndrome. So, pag sinabi naman na the patient has high risk for cardiac arrest, okay? Ayun, or uric acid increases, edi that's your tumor lysis syndrome. Tapos, pag sinabi naman na nagkaroon ng neurological deficits, nagkaroon ng weakness, And that's your spinal cord compression. Claro? The bottom line is, etong apat na to guys, they are just the few types of your what? Oncologic emergencies. Oncologic emergencies. When you say oncologic emergencies, the emergency situations that can happen because of cancer or the side effect of cancer therapy. Okay, the emergency effect of cancer therapy. So guys, basically that's all and I hope you learned. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.